Hello guys, welcome back to Out There Gamer. My name is Bernie and today I'm going to be talking about 7 Dragon 2020 on the PSP, and this game was really great. And before I start talking about the game, I just want to give a big shout out to the fan translation team because yes, this game never came out outside of Japan, sadly. And this is one of the games I think had the most potential to be outside of Japan. And you see all the crazy games that have been coming recently to the West. Like why this game never came out? It's kind of weird in a way. But move on. Big shout out to them because I can't really imagine the amount of time and work it was put into this fan translation. Not just because there's a lot of Japanese text, because there's a lot of them, but also because the files of this game were encrypted, so it's not like you couldn't access on them very easily. So actually Sega did like a kind of protection to those files to not being fan translated whatsoever or modded or whatever. So it wasn't that easy to actually mod this game to actually insert English text as some other games were. And that's impressive seeing this kind of effort going into a game like this. So big shout out to them because I really enjoyed this game. So what is Seven Dragons? So first of all, you probably already have heard about this because there's a Seven Dragon game came coming up to the West. It's for Nintendo 3DS. But do not worry because I don't think there's direct connections between stories, so you can play these games as their own adventure. In this game, it's no exception. So you can play the Seven Dragon 2020 without even playing the original Seven Dragon, which is a DS release. But by the way, the DS release actually has a fan translation as well, done by the same team. So it's really cool. They've done that. So that's one of the things you should take in mind. It's you don't need to play any other games to play 7 2020. So it's a great game. And now talking a little bit about the story of this game. So this game has this kind of post-apocalypse feel to it in actual Japan, which is really cool. They actually took some very famous places from Japan and actually they kind of gave the uh, apocalyptic makeup to them, and it's really creative the way they did it, because there's a lot of places you can recognize, but then they make it more anime looking to it. It's really cool and I really appreciate how they did it, like the levels and everything, because everything it's inspired by real locations, and especially for people who have been in Japan or know Japan actually will really be surprised with a lot of well-known locations are actually in this game, and that's one of the big things about this game. So as the title says, this game it's about dragons, and it's about basically dragons attack Tokyo, and of course everything is going crazy, everything is destroyed or whatnot, and there's the only hope goes to this team that is basically their mission is to kill the dragons, and the game starts off with them actually trying to recruit someone to the team, and this is where you start the game. And Seven Dragon, it's a very interesting series because rather than having an actual character or an actual hero or a main character or whatsoever, this game allows you to choose which character you want, not just the character itself, but also choose a class to it. So not just your main character, but actually your old team can be created as your own will. So basically, this game gives you 5 different classes you can choose from, and you can have like multiple characters and whatnot. The game allows you to create a bunch of them, and you can actually try every class in this game anytime during the game. So this is something that from the very beginning the game allows you to actually have multiple characters and create the way you want it. The creation of these characters, it's basically they give you these characters, like these pre-made characters, and basically you can name them and choose the voice actor of them, especially for those who are into anime and know the actor names. There's a lot of very well-known anime character actors to do the voices of them. But this is basically the voices you will hear whenever you are doing a battle or something like that, which is really really cool. So if you don't like annoying high pitched voices, you can actually make choose a more mature kind of voice for your characters and whatnot. So it's really cool that kind of addition. But I kind of wish this game had like a character creation in a way. But still, it's fine. You know, the fact that you can choose between five different classes and it gives plenty to play with. Even though the first Seven Dragon, for those who don't know, actually has more classes, this one still, even though it's only five classes, you have a lot of abilities. And I have to say, like, I stick with the same class, which was Samurai, through the whole game, and I couldn't really max up all of the abilities. It wasn't really doable to do that, even though I could. But it's just there's no need to. But again, that's the thing. Like the game gives you plenty of abilities to upgrade and whatnot, and I'll get into that later. But let's talk about the classes that this game gives to the player. So I think the first class is Samurai, which is kind of a all around class. This is the class I choose for my main character, and basically this class it's basically a sword type of class. Has some healing options as well, and you can. It's kind of a whole around character, let's say, and and later on you get abilities to, for example, do like flame attacks and whatnot. Mixing with sword attacks, so it's really, really a cool character, and I think this is probably a big most of this character. The next one, I'm thinking out of my head. I'm not sure if this is the order the game gives you the classes, but this is out of my head. So the next one, I think it's Trickster. So Trickster, it's a weapon-based class, so you can use a gun and a knife. I didn't play much of this class, but I think it's fun. But I heard also this class it's kind of broken in a way that probably will make this game easy. For those who like a challenge, definitely don't use that unless you feel like the game is getting super difficult or something. But I don't think the game was that hard. Then I will get into that later. So the next class it's psychic, and basically this is your magician type of class. You can use cure, and this is the most class. Basically, you can cure your partners. You can deal damage like fire, ice, electricity, and it's a most character. I think, especially if you want to spoil weaknesses, this is the character you definitely gonna use the most. Um, and then they have the brawler. I think, yeah, the brawler. So the brawler, it's basically your melee type of character. Um, there's not much to talk about besides it's a melee character, deals really heavy damage, and the thing about this character, which is really interesting, it's actually this character has multiple attacks, and the thing is, you have to start with the weakest attack to the strongest one, so you can't really use um, the strongest attack right away. But the thing is, the attack scales up even further, and it's a very interesting concept for a character. Was the character I used. So basically, I use Samurai, Psychic, and Brawler all the time. This was the three characters I used the most. And finally, but not the least, an actually very useful character, but it's shame that doesn't really deal a lot of damage to the enemies, and that's why I kind of dropped that character, and that is the Trickster. So basically, Trickster, it's the buff slash debuff kind of character. So basically, if you want to rise enemies, defenses, and whatnot, this is the character for you. But unfortunately, at least the level I play with her, like she didn't have like a lot of options to deal damage to the enemies, unfortunately. But I think it's kind of a useful character, I guess. But later on in the game, I stopped literally using it, and I stick to my own three characters. But that's the thing. The game allows you anytime to go back, choose another character, and you may be asking, so Bernie, are are the characters going to be level 1 when you create a new one? Yes, they are, but the thing is they will level up really really fast as long as the other characters are like much higher levels, and you can level up them like really really fast, so there's no problem whatsoever. So now talking about the battle system, because this game it's a very traditional battle system, and that's why I think this game will definitely be worth it for those who are searching for a more classic type of RPG, because this one feels very classic. It's a turn based, there's nothing much. You have your attack, uh, you have your attack options. It's a classic turn based, so you have your attack options, you have the magic or special abilities option, and then you have the guard option. So basically, for example, when there's enemies like doing charge attacks or whatnot, you use guard and you wait until they attack, so to deal less damage and whatnot. So and then you have something that is very interesting, which is the exhaust ability. This is an ability you earn, a little bit further in the game, not much further. I think it's after the first mission, and this ability allows you to basically, first of all, gives you priority in the actual combat. So basically, whenever you activate the exhaust mirror, you can do the attack first. Another thing you can do also, it's basically deal more damage whenever you do that. So basically, if there's an attack that does, for example, like 400 or 300 damage, you can deal like 600 or 700 damage on that character. So basically it's a slightly more stronger attack, and this is something you can actually basically build up between battles, and then you can do, like, for example, a build up while exploring the dungeon, and then you save it for the boss battle and then deal like a huge amount of damage from the beginning. You can do that kind of stuff, which is really really cool. um and I was talking about the abilities and how you earn abilities, and this is one of the most addicting things about this game. It's basically, rather than leveling up and earning a new ability type of thing, this game allows you to choose which kind of abilities you can level up or which kind of abilities you can learn. So it's a more interesting approach because it allows you to play the way you want, and that's something that I really like about this game. It's the freedom this game gives you from the very beginning in terms of battle possibilities and whatnot, and not just that, actually. uh, the amounts of, for example, mana you can have to your character, you can level up that as well. So basically, this is what they call the SP points. So basically, with the SP, you can use it to level up your enemy status and whatnot, and it's really really fun. And that's probably the most addicting thing about leveling up. It's definitely go to that menu and just leveling up stuff, and and going to enemy battles, and just try new stuff. It's really really fun. It's kind of like the same way as Final Fantasy X, but with more freedom. Where Final Fantasy X, you have the grid system. This one doesn't have a grid, so you can just directly level up the attack you really wanted if you like. This is the thing you wanted. So, and it's really cool, and I really like that thing. In terms of gameplay, there's nothing really new to be honest. But I think the battle system was fun. And that's something that I really like. It's the fact that between the battles and going back to the world to explore, it doesn't take too much. So that's a really plus for me because makes things flow just much better in this game. So talking a little bit about flow and how this is not a very long game. I don't think this is like a very long game. Personally, I took around 55 hours to beat it, but again, I did all of the side quests that the game had available to me. I did everything because I thought they were fun, and they actually were very useful, and most of the time they even gave you like SP, and this is SP, you can use it to level up your characters even further. So I definitely appreciate the side stuff, and I really like the side stuff because it felt like the part of the story where a lot of RPGs like the side stuff feels like helping out this old lady that probably not going to, it doesn't really change the story perspective or whatnot. This actually, the side stuff actually adds more to the universe and whatnot, and I really like that. In terms of gameplay, like I said, it's 55 hours. I think if you skip side stuff, around 30. But again, this is a very tight game in terms of difficulty. Like, I was saying that this game isn't hard, but it's definitely tight. There's a lot of times you barely made it. And I feel that a lot, even though I did a lot of side quests, there was still boss battles that I felt like I barely made it. And that's something that I really like it. I really like that. You know, that feeling of uh, pressure, and I really like that. And I think this game does it very well. Like, it's you have to really think a lot, and thinking a lot with a lot of different synergies and whatnot. So it's one of those games that you have to use a lot of tools the game gives to you. Be curious. Try stuff. And go to the store, and that's one of the things. The game sometimes allows you to go to the stores and buy stuff like weapons and whatnot. And one of the things that I think it's really important that a lot of people forget, it's buy rings. Defense rings are very, very important in this game. Actually manage to make some boss battles way more easier than they are, simply because those rings actually help you out a lot. So that's one of the things I have to say about the game. Difficulty is just right, on point. So that's all for today, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy my video. Again, thank you for watching, listening to my video. See you guys next video.